came out with that. Then he came to me like a year ago, and you can see the tear in his eye. Are we gonna do 50? I said, okay, let's do it. And it was a lot of work. I won't deny that, but I loved every minute of it, and I think they did too. Just anybody wants to raise their hand and say something anytime, just do it. It's just so informal. And I think Gary Mosier has a little something to read from Diane Woolley. All right, Gary. So anytime you want to come up, and you can do that. One of the people that I sent out invitations to had said to me, "Hi Jim, sorry, but you must have me confused with another Shirley Owen, because I couldn't have graduated in 92 or 72 because I'm only 39." So initially I thought, I got the wrong person. So anyway, I had to bring that up. For everybody's information too, the first person that sent the reservation back seemed really excited to come was Bonnie Hewitt. And Bonnie passed away a couple weeks ago. Oh. And I have a card on the table over here that everybody would sign. We'll send it to her husband with her money. Sad. She really thought she would be here. Jerry did a lot of picture work. Kurt made that nice athletic poster out there. Everybody just chipped in, and it really worked out great. Reed Clare. Does everybody know Reed Clare?
Think about Reed.
Reed's sitting back there. Reed came up from Erskine Falls to play football with us because we had an arrangement where Madison could go to Erskine Falls and play soccer, and Erskine Falls guys could come up to Madison and play football or wrestle. And it actually worked out pretty nice. Reed was obviously a lineman and did a great job for us. So I thought I'd go ahead. Few people that were coming that couldn't make it and texted me at the last minute. Marilyn Geyser, Lily, I think her last name is. She has a bad case of COVID. She's just getting over that, and they told her she had a quarantine. Pelma Burns Hall. She is in Canada, and she's having border crossing issues. At least that's what she told me. Jeff Lawman is in respiratory rehab. He was planning on coming, so he couldn't make it. Thankfully, Leslie Lawman brought her sister Wendy. I got a few, I don't know if you remember when I sent out the invitation, I asked if you couldn't come, would you mind sending a little history of your life? And I got a few. And fortunately, it's just a few. First one was from Mary Gazelle. And I'll put these out there because I got pictures of them too. It said, "Dear Jim, it is with great disappointment that I'm unable to attend the 50th reunion. Many of our best years were during high school, and I have so many great memories. Unfortunately, I'm still working, and my year begins in August 1st. I was still going to try to make it, but mandatory meetings have been scheduled for August 12th and 15th. I met with teachers beginning on the 16th of August, and the reunion just doesn't work with all these commitments. You asked if we could attend. If we could not attend, we might share a little bit about our last 50 years. I will try to do it as concisely as I can." Thank you, Mary. "After college, I married Nick Vituli, and we were blessed with 3 children, Nicole, Mark, and Sandra. We moved to Illinois in '85 for his work and have been in the area ever since. After my youngest started school, I began to teach in a small Catholic school not too far from my home. Over a 20-year period, I taught at every grade level from 2 to 8. During this time, I got my master's degree, and I became the part-time assistant principal and was principal for the last 2 years. The school closed in 2015, and I made my way to another school, St. Patrick's, for the last 7 years. Next year, it'll be my 8th year as principal. I love my work, but, smiley face, I love my grandchildren more. I have 3, Mary, Jade, wait a minute. Now I'm gonna say it, Mary Jade, that's what you put. Mary Jade 5, Bennett 4, and Charlotte 2. I'm including a picture of my family. No need to do anything with it unless you're creating something about those who were not able to attend. I hope there will be pictures and lots of information shared about the weekend. I would love to see all my old classmates and learn what they're up to. Thanks so much for working to put this together. Please express my gratitude and disappointment to the entire committee. Wishing you a successful reunion weekend. And I have a picture of the family on there too. That's something that just hit me. Is there anybody in here that would be interested in gathering all the pictures and putting them out on social media? I don't do Facebook, so it's not something I'm up to speed on. Anybody?
Yeah, Brian, you're good at it.
I'll help you where I can, Jimmy.
Okay, Brian. Gary, would you like to?
Sure.
Sorry.
Thanks. When Jim sent that text message, I think 6 months ago, I jumped at the chance. I live in Seattle, but I absolutely wanted to come back and see you folks. So it's great to see everybody's faces. Before I talk a little bit about my life, about 13 years ago, I wanted to track down Diane Woolley, who was a close friend, in that age that she left. I think we were about 12, 13 years old at the time, but I was always fascinated what happened to Diane. I didn't travel with you all to Washington, so I didn't get to see her down there. But although I don't like Facebook, I'm with you, Jim. I thought Facebook would be a good vehicle to try and track her down. And so I employed a bit of method to some madness, and I knew that she probably had married and she had changed her name, and so that wouldn't be an easy find using her maiden name, but I knew she had an older brother, Richard, who graduated some years before us. I remember he played basketball at Madison, and so I thought, well, I could probably find a Richard Woolley. Obviously, men don't change their last names, at least the ones that I know. And so I came up with about 15 Richard Woolleys in the world. And I started going through each posting, and then there was one that said he loved Syracuse basketball. Bingo. So I sent him a note and said, listen, I'm such and such, and I went to Madison. I'd like to know if you have a sister, Diane, if she's still around. And he sent a note back to me immediately. He said, yes, she'd love to hear from you. So we've been communicating back and forth since 2009. I happened to meet her and her husband down in California when I was bicycling. And she wanted to relay some aspects of her life to you because she really did want to come and visit. Now, for the folks in Knoxville, I think you joined us in 6th grade, if I'm not mistaken. She left in 5th grade, so you probably wouldn't have known her. But her father was the principal of Madison School in that time frame, and they abruptly left for circumstances. But she moved to Washington, D.C. She lived there until college years, and then she went to school up in Santa Clara University in California. She worked for Apple Corporation. She did quite well in their marketing and sales department. She met her husband, who is now the CEO of Ridge Winery. So he's a pretty senior person in the wine industry in Southern California. She worked in real estate, is now retired, and she just had a son that graduated from Notre Dame University. So she wanted to express, her appreciation for the thoughts of inviting her, and she wishes everyone well. And she does intend to come back to Madison, I think, next year, so she'll probably try and look some of you folks up. But anyways, I have a picture of her, and I'll share with Jim or whoever's doing the collection so that you can post it. For me, I love that phrase from the Jerry Garcia Grateful Dead song, what a strange trip it's been. When I last saw you folks, graduation night, I went on to school. I went to university in New Jersey and spent 4 years there. I came back, spent a year with my father who was trying to encourage me to stay on the farm. And I said, no, Dad, I'm not a farmer. And so I then went back to school and focused on the environmental industry. I worked for the government for 4 years and in the private industry as a consultant. And I slowly moved westward. I spent time in Jersey and then Des Moines, Iowa for 6 months, and then a couple months in Wichita, Kansas, and then on to California where I spent 20 years. I worked in the aerospace industry and then went back to school at USC, got an MBA, and then took a promotion up to Seattle where I worked for another 20 years and then retired about 6 years ago. Along the way, I've been trying to stay active. I got into some weird sports. I was a hang glider pilot for a while and enjoyed that. I think John Camp, did you hang glide for a while?
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready to go? I had some great flights, but it's a young man's sport, believe me. And you have to carry a 70-pound hang glider around. So I got over that and got into bicycling. And I was telling some folks here, I became the Forrest Gump of bicycling. I was across the country from Newport to Boston on Route 20 and got a chance to stop and visit the folks and so forth. And then I've been traveling around the world. I've traveled in England and Ireland and whatnot. In terms of affairs of the heart, I was a late bloomer. I got married, Jane helped me, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Isn't that the case? We lose it.
You're in trouble already, Gary.
Met my love of my life, and we've are both retired now, enjoying gardening, and I've been active doing projects that Jane has assigned to me. So that's what we've been doing. But yeah, we're having a good time, and again, I jumped at the chance to come see you folks. So it's been a long time. Anyways, with that.
Good to hear.
Just a couple more short bios. First one is from Darlene Williams, Darlene Bono now. She said, I sincerely regret to say that I will be unable to attend our 50th reunion. On April 18th, my husband and I have set out on our 6-month voyage across the United States in our motorhome. We've been to Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. We are continuing west onto Alaska. What a trip. We live full-time in our motorhome, so I always have everything with me. I was married after graduation. I have 3 kids, 49, 44, and 43. I was divorced, lived by myself for 20 years, and remarried to my husband now, Steve Bono. I was also able to work and put my kids through college and myself. Some say I never left MCS. I drove bus, I worked in the cafeteria, and got my degree and became a teacher's assistant for special ed right here at MCS. I put in 34 years and retired out in 2014, plus my 13 as a student. MCS was great to me. Life is great. I would have loved to see all of you again, but life right now has taken me in new directions and out of New York. I hope at some time we'll meet again. Take care and have fun, Darlene. And again, I got pictures of her. You can check out one of her riding a camel. I don't know where she did that.
Jimmy, my sister and her husband are with Dar and Steve in Alaska. Dar just recently signed up to drink alcohol with a human toe in it.
With what?
You drink a glass of whiskey with a human toe in it, and you get a certificate. So she just
Human toe.
So that's what Dar's doing.
That's better than me. I have another bio here from Betty Ford who wanted to attend, but I can't for the life of me remember why she couldn't be here, but she couldn't. She said, hello Jim, and thank you for all the information and all your work. 50 years seems like a very long time. Here's my report. After school, I went to Potsdam College and graduation with a degree in art history in '76. It was cold up there in Potsdam. And not unusual to find everyone in big ugly parkas, which she sent me a picture of herself in a parka with a beak on it. After high school, I read that already. By April of 1977, I found work outside of Hamilton at a nonprofit called the Gallery Association, which created and transported exhibitions around the state. In 1980, I found a new job in Rochester at the Rochester Museum and Science Center, where I worked for almost 19 years. I was able to work with museum collections of all types, which I loved. I moved up from collection coordinator to registrar to assistant director for collections before I left. I also met a very handsome man and a funny security guard at the museum in '82, and we got married in '83, and we still are. I did a few short-term jobs, one with jewelry design, one with the Historical Society, and finally my next really good job working for the Image Permanence Institute at the Rochester Institute of Technology. This was a research department that studied the preservation of library and museum collections, particularly in regard to the storage environment. I was able to travel around the country and go behind the scenes to work with staff trying to improve the preservation of their collections. The best part was traveling to Denmark, which I was able to do several times, and I met a lot of interesting people and saw a lot of interesting things, including shrunken heads, mastodon bones, mummies, meteorites, and more. After 13 years at this job, I retired the very day I turned 62, and I'm glad I did. My husband Todd and I live in Fairport, just outside of Rochester, for nearly 30 years. He taught high school biology and other sciences. We have no children, but I'm happy to have 3 of my nieces and nephews and their children nearby. We have pretty much always had a cat or 3. And I remain interested in artsy, crafty things. I make dolls, often portraits of people, and often anatomically correct. I also make greeting cards, easily 100 or more a year, and I have made several voodoo dolls. Now I was debating on reading the last sentence, but I said I'll do it. And she wrote after the voodoo dolls, including one of Donald Trump, but I don't think it worked because he's still around. Okay, one more bio. This one's a little long, but it's really good. I really appreciate it. It's from Tom Helmer, our algebra teacher, math teacher. I didn't realize that he only spent, I think, 4 years at Madison School, and he moved on. And him and I struck it off pretty good, and that didn't happen very often with me and teachers. So anyway, I want to tell you with the greatest sincerity that I regret not being able to share at least some portion of your 50th reunion with you in person. I was pleased, honored, and humbled to receive a call from Jim Dowd in which he extended the planning group's invitation. Unfortunately, these dates conflicted with plans made during winter months to gather our 2 daughters, son, their spouses, and our 7 grandchildren in Lake Placid. For as much as we have enjoyed watching first our children and then their children as they fledge and start independent lives and relationships, we can't escape the reality that each year it will become more challenging to reunite the entire class for just a few days. Family comes first, but that isn't to ignore the fact that this MCS, class of '72, holds a special place in my heart as well. Let me explain. I arrived in Madison in September of 1968 as a newly minted teacher of mathematics. I had a provisional teaching certificate propped up by lots of coursework in mathematics and science, and a pleasant but not too instructive practice teaching experience in which I taught 2 classes of advanced algebra in a large suburban high school. Oh yeah, and I had been part-time school bus driver for 2 years to help pay my college tuition. But I had lived at home on the family dairy farm and commuted to college until graduating. So mostly I was a 23-year-old farm boy. In all honesty, I wasn't fully prepared for the task ahead. I was looking at a steep learning curve. Here's the part where you folks came in. Not only did I face many of you in my first ever algebra class, I was also the advisor of the class of '72 an assignment that began what I have since looked back upon as a wonderful 4-year learning and professional growth experience. During that time, I know that I learned, grew, and sometimes failed along with you. We worked, we struggled, we laughed, we disagreed, and occasionally even cried together. But I know you made me a better educator. You probably know that I taught just 1 more year in Madison, then accepted an offer to teach in the City of Sherrill School District, VBS. I welcome this opportunity because I saw the chance to build on what you had helped me learn. I would no longer be in high school department of 1, but it would be a team and 6 math teachers from whom I could continue to learn. In the 11 years that followed, I completed a master's degree in teaching and a certificate of advanced studies in administration. I also served 1 year as assistant principal in Casanova, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I also had just experienced divorce. So I stopped by the superintendent's office after school one day and handed him my resignation. He told me I must be crazy, especially giving up my tenure and a likely shot at department chair in the near future. I told him I did not disagree. I needed other challenges. As the sun was rising on a chilly Syracuse morning 2 weeks later, I was shifting through the gears as I entered the thruway in an old cab-over Freightliner tractor hauling a 53-foot-long trailer loaded with swimming pool chemicals headed for Colony. I was a trucker. This guy's amazing. Probably would have been listening to truck driver songs on the radio, except the radio didn't work. I enjoyed being around the equipment again, reminded me a bit of my days on the farm. But I soon began to miss interactions with my students and my former teacher colleagues. Truck driving didn't last too long. On the brighter side, I knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be in education, and I wanted to have more control over my work. Time to rewrite the resume. In 1985, I was in Remsen School as elementary principal, high school disciplinarian, transportation and buildings and grounds supervisor, and substitute teacher. The Board of Education liked my service, so my 2nd year as administrator, I was named assistant superintendent. That looked good on my resume, so why stop there? Time to move on to the big chair. From 87 to 90, I served as superintendent of the Georgetown South Otselic Central School District, which is now known as Otselic Valley. My experience there gave me confidence to try my hand at managing a more complex district. In January 91, I packed my sweaters and my parka and headed for the superintendent's office in Malone, a district of 3,000 students, 6 buildings, and 366 square miles of bus routes, positioned between Canada to my north and the Adirondack Park to my south. I enjoyed my work and my new friendships in Malone. I also married again while I lived there to a wonderful lady from Dryden who had been an elementary teacher and was then an elementary principal in the southern tier. Time for more changes. She, Cindy, became an elementary principal in Chittenango in '94, and I followed her to Simpson, New York 3 years later to become superintendent of the Solvay Union Free School District. I retired on our first grandson's birthday, August 2005. Cindy retired in '26. My retirement was interrupted 6 times over the following 7 years when I would accept short-term, generally 1 semester, appointments as superintendent or principal. I finally started to say no to those requests in 2013 as I realized they were taking too much time away from my family and other retirement activities, like helping neighbors, volunteering at a nature center, tinkering on projects in my shop, and assisting my wife in her post-retirement creation of a fused glass art in her shop. With the book on my professional life roughly 45 years now closed, it has turned out that you, the Madison Central class of 1972, is the only class I ever served as an advisor. Now I thank you for the lessons that you taught me, whether on purpose or by accident. I believe they served me well. If I were here in person, I would love to speak with each of you and learn of your adventures in those 50 years. I do hope that those years have been kind to you, that you found work, friendships, and love that made you feel supported and valued. I have thought of you often and wish you the best and hold hope that our paths will cross again. If you find time in your busy life, I would love to hear from you. And I have that sheet that has all the addresses and phone numbers on it, if anybody wants to contact him, or anybody else for that matter. I thought that was pretty special from Tom. I had a good conversation with him on the phone. He remembered me, which shocked me. But then I remembered my first year of algebra, I was the last in the class. I failed miserably. And the second year I finished first in my class, so I made up for it. Don Reese was one of our other advisors. Don really wanted to come. I talked to him. He lives in Waterville, not too far away. But he just developed a lung infection and he's not supposed to be in the public. And Doris Padelot, I don't know how many remember Doris. She was one of our advisors, and her husband just had a knee replacement and he can't get around, so she couldn't come. For those of you that didn't make the tour this morning, I'm sure you all remember Barb Snyder, the cafeteria cop. Her husband, Bert Snyder, was a local game warden. They have a son named Chris. And Chris has a son named Jonah. And Jonah is a 12-year member of the Madison School Board. He's also a teacher, currently in Brookfield, headed to Stockbridge. And he did the tour this morning. It was over 2 hours. The guy's fantastic. And the only reason I bring that up is if you ever get a chance to do that, Madison School has changed so much. We go there for family basketball games, nephews and nieces and stuff, and little concerts. But I've never seen the rest of the school. It's outstanding. They have advanced so much faster than some of the local schools around us, including Waterville. And my kids went to Waterville. So it's something to see. But what I like to do is for the people that actually did attend, I want to pass a hat around. Anybody got a hat? I want to invite Jonah a nice dinner someplace. He was just outstanding tour guide. He should be a tour guide. But he was a big part of their advancement up there with computers and technology and the way they laid out the new buildings and stuff. It's just amazing. So basically, that's about all I got to say. Oh, Bethany's got her hand up. What do you have?
Tell them a little bit about Ivan.
Oh, he didn't tell me not to, so I will. In my travels through the computer trying to find people, I can't tell you how many hours I called phone numbers and that wasn't the person I was looking for. But anyway, I finally found something well, actually what happened was I couldn't find Doug Malinzi anywhere. I knew he was in California, just couldn't find him. So it hit me, he's got a sister that lives around here somewhere. So I actually found her phone number from her ex-husband's mother. I call a lot of people. Anyway, she gave me her number, Kathy Malinzi, I don't know if you remember her or not, nice little girl. And she said, here's his phone number, he lives out in California. And I said, I kind of knew that. And then we talked a little bit, and then she said, before you hang up, I got to tell you something. And I said, what's that? She said, he's not Doug Malinzi anymore. I said, okay. What is he? And it turned out he was, I think it's Hindu, and he changed his name to capital P-I, capital R-A. That's his name, Pyra. And Jerry had some experience on, did you talk to him on the phone, Jerry, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he got to know a little bit more about him. Unfortunately, he's got diabetes and has a little problems with his legs right now. And he's hoping to get back here in a year or two, but he couldn't right now. But that was an interesting story.
How long did you talk with him, Jim?
I'm sorry?
How long did you talk with him?
How long?
How long did you talk with him? Hi,
How long did you talk to him?
How long?
I didn't personally.
Oh, you didn't? Oh.
We
Want me to take over
We
now?
texted back.
Yeah, I had the great pleasure of talking to, no, not Doug Malinzi, not Pyra. No, Pyra. He corrected me, but if we didn't call him Goat Man, we wouldn't know who we're talking about, right? So, yeah, well, I want to back up. We got to say the lion's share of this work was done by Jim, and he, wow, you did so much here that this probably wouldn't have happened as well as it has if you hadn't done it, Jimmy. So
I couldn't take the cry, you know.
Can't let us.
I don't think I was that bad. But anyways, as we moved along and doing this program here, getting everybody together, we come to the point where now we got to send out the invites and let everybody know. So we had the list and we just divided basically 4 ways: myself, Jim, Kurt, and Bethany, and Mr. Doug Malenzi was on my list or whatever. So there was no address, no email or anything. So okay, there is a phone number, so I called it, and I got some answering thing. It was through a lawyer's office or something, and like, okay, maybe I dialed it wrong, right? Or maybe I just didn't have it right. Did it again, got the same recording. Okay, so this definitely is not right. I contacted Jim, and I had the wrong zip code, so or area code. So I got the right area code, and lo and behold, on one Sunday afternoon, I call up, and is this Doug Malenzi? And well, yes, this is, but my name is now Pi Ra. Okay, all right, so that conversed and went on for a 45-minute conversation I had with him. I go, holy cow, I mean, he didn't leave anything unturned there or whatever, he turned over every stone.
That's good.
To me personally, I found it hard to call him Pi. I didn't call him anything, until I said, okay, Mr. Ra. Well, I called him Mr. Ray. Well, I got corrected on that very quickly. So, Pi Ra. So, okay. So I just couldn't call him Pi. I had to call him Mr. Ra. And to me, that just felt more normal. And he worked for the city of San Francisco for, I think it was, I don't know if it was not in the traffic department, but he was assisting people around in the city somewhere, and I really forgot what department it was now or whatever, but he spent a good deal of time there, and that's what he retired from. Yes, he has diabetes and problems with his feet, but he did have that issue as a young man or with a student too when he was in school with us. So, and yeah, he did. He's coming back for a family gathering reunion of his family this next year, is what he told me. And he did give me his email address. I neglected to see. I didn't see it. Pass it on to Kurt. So I do have that. And it's either Hebrew or Hindu was his religion now, and what he got into. And so we know all the mathematics people, we know that pi is, the number 3.14 going on forever and ever. Of course, his email address has got that 3.14 and whatever it is. So I had to write, he's telling this to me like, okay, oh, all right, now I know what the hell you're talking about, Mr. Ross. I do have his email address, and if anybody wants to call Mr. Goatman, or give him an email. His phone number's on there, and you can. My email's on there. You can send a notice along to me, and I'll pass it back to you. So that's the only other one I did talk to, and not many people remember her. Louann Stevens. Shall we say she was a one-year wonder. Came in our senior year. I happened to get a hold of her brother who passed on the information. I had a short conversation with her, and she's listed on there. She did express some interest, but things came up where there was a conflict. And I don't know, she didn't give me a whole lot of history. I don't know where her family was, but at least she did respond to me, and we know who she is. And the only other thing, in our graduation program, I didn't see one here tonight, there was Anita Sutton was listed in it, and does anybody recall? An exchange student? Okay, don't know. Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know why she was listed. Obviously graduated, and
Anita
Was-
Sutton was in her class. I remember her in 2 or 3 of the classes. She used to love art, but she was here with her brother for a period of time. So I had no idea where she ended up.
Did she come during the year, John, you think, or don't know, or
She
don't
was here
recall?
for- She was here for over a year.
Was she?
Yeah.
Okay. Apparently I wasn't very good friends with her, so. Okay, who's next? Who else wants to talk?
Come on, somebody, tell us what you've been doing the last 50 years. Anybody?
Oh, Debbie's gonna talk now, come on. Well, tell us about a cruise anyways. Come on, Deb, you know, you've been on a couple cruises. We heard from Jim last night. Come on, you can tell.
You didn't say anything about yourself.
Why should I? Well, all right, I'll fill it in. Well, Debbie's getting ready before she comes up. No, I pretty much stayed in one industry. I got into the energy side, and back in those days, they always called it just fuel oil for heating or whatever. Started a local company there in Hamilton, and which was sold out to was bought out by a larger company. Stayed with that company for 24 years, and had a disagreement with management. New management came in, so I had an opportunity to move to the company I retired from, Paul Oil Company out of Hamilton, in which I retired 2 years ago. They just started out as a bookkeeper, dispatcher type of thing, and then they just moved me up to being managing the company, and then Paul Oil ended up being the president for the last 16 or 17 years of it. So, yeah, I had a good career. I enjoyed it. I missed the interaction from seeing all the people and customers over the years. Retirement. Found out that it's, yeah, it's a little different and something else to get used to, but I would adjust it now. So, short career, but I was happy. So, I'm good with it. Thanks. Come on, Deb.
He didn't tell you the reason it got done was because he wanted to change the name to Frank Oil. Anybody else like to come up? John,
Keep moving.
you're the man.
Well, it is an amazing pleasure to see everyone. We look so much older. It's scary to look at these pictures and look at each other, but I'm going to be very, very brief. We've had a lot go on in our lives. The best thing I did was marry Christy. We're almost 47 years of being married. We have 5 children and 18 grandchildren. And I tell people that I wanted them near me, so I built each one of them a home and got them in debt so they couldn't get away from me, so they're real close. And so we see our grandkids a lot. I was in construction for 20, 25 years, and eventually it led me, not through construction, but it led me to be a pastor. I've been pastoring for about 28 years. And as a pastor of a church, matter of fact, just outside Madison, we just built a brand new church on Route 20. It's opened up the world to Christy and I. For a while, we were going in and out of Brazil and working with the people in Brazil. Spent just a brief time in Scotland, and since that time, we've been in Africa. My wife had the desire to start a sponsorship program. We have about 300 kids on that program now. And as we go over, we help to feed them, take care of them, educate them. We raise funds for them so that they can go on and go into school, because any school over there you have to pay, it's not free. And so we have about 300 children now that we sponsor. During COVID, many of the people in the poorer countries were dying, not just of COVID, but of starvation. They shut the entire country down, so there was no way for them to go into the fields, even to make their own living, make food, or anything they needed. And so we had the opportunity to begin to send monies over to start a feeding program. And that grew to such a large number that eventually we had, I think we just heard recently, 12, 15, 1,600 people on the last feeding program. So that's been our life. There's a whole lot more to it, but I don't want to take all the time right now. But we've had an amazing run so far. My wife is teaching right now as a kindergarten teacher. I'm working for my son as well as pastoring, so we're both very, very busy still, but it's been pretty amazing. So that's our concise, quick story.
Thank you, John. I know somebody else like to talk. Anybody? I guess that's it. Thanks for listening.